Which one we getting, boys? I haven't spoiled any of them this time, so it could be any of the ultra rares from the box. Literally any of them. Anything, yeah, okay. Just not, this not live stream, please. Alright? We do not want to see live stream. No. Stop typing live stream, chat. No, stop that. No. No live stream. Okay? Konami's been nice to me today, alright? They've given me one of the Mekk-Knight cards from one of these sales. They will not give me live stream. It will not happen. Why are you all typing it? There is actually no way. There is no way this happens every time. Why is this every stream? There is literally no way. There is no possible way this happens. This is every stream. There is literally no shot every stream this occurs. There is actually no way. I hate you, chat. It's always chat's fault. It's actually always chat's fault. How many of you said this dumb card? I hate you. So Duel Links just got itself a brand new main box, and as part of that main box, we were given a bunch of new support for Mekk-Knights, which honestly seem to have a shit ton of potential, especially considering Konami has also given us their brand new unique skill. Middle Age Mechs. So here's today's deck list. Now just a reminder before I get to the deck list, if you're enjoying today's video and want to see more content just like this in the future, especially if you're a returning viewer, as apparently about 50% of the people that watch this or even subscribe to the channel, then nearly all of you are returning viewers who have seen my stuff before. So if you're interested in seeing new box content, especially just like this one, as I have a bunch of deck lists planned over the upcoming days, remember to leave a like on this video and consider subscribing to the channel down below. Alright, let's get into the deck list. So just about everything in this deck list is new, or probably new to you guys, since the only cards that aren't new in this are ones that weren't even played before, because the rest of the Mekk-Knight cards weren't even in the game. So I'll probably just go through most of the cards in this deck list for you right now. So the main core of this deck list, or the most important monsters, are going to be your purple Nightfall, and of course your blue Sky. Purple Nightfall, if you control two or more, or if there's two cards in the same column, you can special summon this card from your hand. So if your opponent has one back row and you have one back row on the field in the same column, you can summon Slink to the field. Or if your opponent has a monster in the monster zone and behind it has a back row, you can summon a monster directly in front of it. It's pretty easy to understand once you actually just watch the gameplay. Alright, you can only special summon Mekk-Knight Purple Nightfall once per turn this way. Quick effect, you can target one Mekk-Knight monster you control, banish it until the next standby phase of your next turn. And if you do, add one Mekk-Knight monster from your deck to your hand, except Mekk-Knight Purple Nightfall. So essentially, you summon this thing, you then banish it, which then obviously frees up a zone for you then special summon more monsters to, and lets you search for another Mekk-Knight to then special summon to that zone if you like. Which will generally be your Mekk-Knight Blue Sky. If two or more cards are in the same column, you can special summon this card from your hand in that column, same as the other ones. You notice all the Mekk-Knights have this effect. Alright. You can special summon it once per turn. If this card is normal special summon from your hand, you can add Mekk-Knight cards or Mekk-Knight monsters with different names except Mekk-Knight Blue Sky from your deck to your hand, equal to the number of your opponent's cards in this card's column. So this card is actually hella bonkers, as if your opponent just has two cards in front of it, this card is just going to be searching for two extra cards. If you summon this in front of a link column, you can actually have potential to draw or search for three different monsters, because they have the link, the monster behind it, and the back row. So that's three different cards searched from one card, which is absolutely insane. Then we have your Eclipse. Now this card is pretty simple, same as the other ones, it can special summon itself to the field, only this card has the effect that it can quick effect move other Mekk-Knights, including itself, to different zones you have. So if you have an empty zone, you can move this card to it. So this means if you summon out this card, move it to another zone, you can then free up that spot to then summon another Mekk-Knight. Or if you're using a card such as your Moon and your Star, which I'll go through in a second, both basically one's a monster removal, one's a back row removal, but they can only target stuff in their column. So this card can essentially just move these two into different columns to be able to blow up different back row or different front row, especially considering both these cards are not even once per turn effects. Yellow Star simply allows you to banish Mekk-Knight monsters from your graveyard to target spell and trap cards in its column and destroy them, and like I mentioned before, it's not once per turn. Likewise, we have your Moon, which does the exact same thing, but for monsters. And this card is particularly good in the current meta, because as you guys know, Balinx is a very prominent card. So normally, when you summon Slink to destroy your opponent's monsters, they'll have Balinx, they'll protect it. But Moon just isn't a once per turn, so this card can just pop whatever Mekk-Knight monsters your opponent has, and then just pop them again, making the Balinx effectively basically useless. Now we'll move on to the spell and trap cards in the deck. The first one being your World Legacy's Memory. This card allows you to special summon a Mekk-Knight monster in your hand or deck in defense position, but return it to hand during the end phase. And for the rest of the turn, you can't summon anything that isn't a Mekk-Knight monster, and you can only use one of these per turn. This card is obviously insane as it allows you to not only be like a search spell since it just summons the card to the field, adds to hand during the end phase. You can use it on turn 1 if you like to search for a monster, or you can use it during your opponent's end phase, just add a monster to hand. You can also use it to summon a monster to the field to then go into your Link 2s. You can use it to summon out your monster removal or summon out your back row removal. This card is just incredibly insane. And on top of all this kind of bullshit, it actually combos insanely well with the back row for the deck list, being the Secret and the Whispers. When this card is activated, you can target one level 5 or higher monster in your graveyard, special summon it. So already it's got a nice little monster reborn effect. When this card leaves the field, destroy that monster. Negate any opponent's monster's effect that activates in the same column as a Mekk-Knight monster you control. And the insane part about this card is it essentially can just be used in response to whatever your opponent does. If your opponent normal summons a monster, you can activate this effect, revive out any of your level 5 or higher Mekk-Knight monsters to the same column as that monster that they just summoned, and just negate its effects. Likewise, we have your memory, so if they summon another monster, you just activate this, summon a Mekk-Knight monster from your deck, and negate that card as well. And on top of this, we have your Whispers, which does the exact same thing, but for spell cards. Only this one doesn't have the monster reborn effect, it just allows you to target level 5 or higher monster on the field and give it 1000 attack and defense. But it still has a negate any opponent's spell effects that activate in the same column as a Mekk-Knight monster, which is also incredibly important because it can protect your secrets for things like MST or other back row removal sources. Now let's talk about the extra deck, with the most important card being your Mekk-Knight of the Morning Star. This card takes 2 monsters, including a Mekk-Knight monster, so normally you'll be summoning this via your Rescue Rabbit, which will then summon out your 2 Mekk-Knight cards and summon this card instantly. On top of that, you can also just use one of your Avrams to go into your Chalice, putting it in a column below what is going to be your middle-aged Mechs, so you have 2 cards and an empty column, which you can then summon another Mekk-Knight into, therefore going from this card into whatever Mekk-Knight you summoned, and link summon out your Morning Star. You'll see it during the gameplay, it's a pretty simple combo. Alright. If this card is link summoned, you can discard 1 Mekk-Knight monster or 1 World Legacy card, add 1 World Legacy card from your deck to your hand. You can use the effect of Mekk-Knight the Morning Star once per turn. If your Mekk-Knight monster battles a monster in a different column than it, your monster cannot be destroyed by that battle, also you take no battle damage from that battle. So again, some really nice effects for your opponent to just simply not read. Now obviously the most important part about this card is that it can search out your secrets on turn 1, so then during your opponent's turn you can negate whatever they try to activate. But it's also really good at searching out your memory to search out your monster removal, your back row removal, your searches, whatever you need going second, and it's also really good at providing a discard so you'll have a monster in the graveyard to use in combination with the secrets to summon it back to the field, so you don't have to rely on your memory to negate your opponent's monster's effect if they summon it in a random column, because this card can just summon out whatever Mekk-Knight you discarded to that column instead. As for the rest of the extra deck, honestly, it doesn't really matter and you can run whatever you like. I think you should be running 2 copies of Morning Stars I found without running 2 of them. I just find my zones were getting incredibly clogged a lot of the time with monsters of just random ass levels, so I couldn't go into Xyz plays, or I just want to search for a memory and I couldn't because I didn't have a second copy of this. So I think running a second copy is best, and other than that, the Galaxy Ice package is really good to run because you can easily get it out with a Nightfall in combination with an Eclipse, so it's kind of nice to run this. It makes it really easy at OTK going second, and obviously we have a couple of rank 4s because we have your Rescue Rabbit, summon out 2 monsters, there's a rank 4. The final thing to talk about in this deck list would be the skill Middle-Aged Mechs, but rather than talk about it, I thought I'd just show you guys during the gameplay, so without further ado, let's get into the gameplay. Alright, so today I have 4 replays to show you guys, all of which were pretty banging replays, but all of which were only taken in Platinum. But keep in mind the season just reset like 6 days ago, so all these players are former Legend, King of Games players, all that kind of stuff. Alright, so if you're wondering what the win rate was with this deck list, I think out of my last 10 games I won 8 of them, which was basically the same sort of win rate I had throughout playing this deck list entirely, since it's just really damn strong. I'm not sure whether or not it will become top tier relevant or anything like that, but certainly for tournament play I wouldn't be surprised if you saw this deck list topping quite a few tournaments, or especially in KC Cups, you'll definitely see this deck list in the top 100. Alright, so very first thing I have to mention before getting into the actual gameplay is you have to, in your settings, if you want to play this deck list, change your card position to manual 2. This is very important as it allows you to select whichever zones you want to place your cards in every time, which includes for things like your skill, middle-age mechs. So I can put this in a column below a link arrow, which is very important as it allows me then go into my rescue rabbit, summon my 2 dudes, and link summon out my Mekk-Knight monster. Therefore having the 2 cards lined up in the column to have a zone I can special summon Mekk-Knights to. I use my Morningstar's effect, discard a card, then search for my secrets. Set secret, set the other thing, summon this card because I can, and pass the turn. Alright, he summons out his 2 trains. Tries to use Stampede's effect. In response, I'm going to use secrets, summon the card from the graveyard I discarded, negate the effect. He can use his skill, which I'm pretty sure he should have used beforehand maybe. This card is like some weird effect where it stops your monsters being negated, but he used it afterwards. I don't know if that's a misplay or not. I don't actually play this deck list, so I don't know what's going on there. Either way, he basically passes the turn. So during his end phase, I'm going to activate my memory, summon this card from the deck list, which can then banish this card and search for another card as well. And keep in mind, by the way, I summoned to 3 zones, and there were 3 mechs in each zone, so he's effectively, every zone's negated. Very insane. That's basically the ideal setup for this deck list. Alright, Nightfall brings back during the end phase. Oh, it's standby phase, sorry. Go into Morningstar. Nightfall, then banish this card to search for my yellow star. Effectively, I'm just flexing him on this point, because there's a billion ways I could lethal him. Use this card's effect to move this one, so I can summon out Blue Sky, give myself a search. Go into my Galaxy Eyes combo. You've seen the Galaxy Eyes stuff before. Pop my opponent's stuff, and he's just hella dead. Even have another special summon afterwards. Alright. On to game number 2. So that guy I don't think played particularly well, wasn't exactly the strongest deck list, but don't worry, the gameplay does pick up, especially the last one. I think whichever one was the salad replay, you guys will hella enjoy, as it just shows how good this deck list can be into multiple back row and full salad setup. So they have the negate, Omni-Negate trap card, they have the Balinks in the graveyard, you'll see it anyway. I think this player was a Dark Magician player, I think. Might not have been. Alright, so this is the going second replay. Oh no, this was the Dragunity guy. So again, not particularly exciting replay, but I'll show it off anyway, just to show off this deck. To show off the non-once per turn on your monster removal. Alright. Ascalon, summoning out his boss. Middle-Mage Mechs, summon my thing. Again, putting it below the column of my opponent. Very important, because then I have the 2 things lined up. He didn't set any back row, so before, and I didn't actually draw my Rescue Rabbit or my Mekk-Knight monster. So if I didn't have the skill, I wouldn't be able to set up these 2 columns to summon a Mekk-Knight to it. So there you go. I can then banish it, search for my Eclipse, summon my Eclipse, move it to a different column, summon a Mekk-Knight, Blue Sky searches for an Avram, which I haven't used my normal summon yet, so I can summon it out. Go straight into my Morningstar. Morningstar discard, searching for Whispers. Summoning out my dude to then pop his monster. Now, here I kind of forgot that Ascalon had a revive effect, or bring out from extra deck effect or whatever it has, so I kind of forgot it was going to do this, but luckily, my opponent was a moron. And he summoned it directly in front of my Red Moon, so non-once per turn, it's gone. I don't think I had much chance anyway, because I had full board lock on all spells and all monster effects on the following turn, so I think from there he was pretty screwed. Alright. Game number 3. So this one must be the Dark Magician player, because I'm pretty sure there was 1 Dark Magician and 1 Salad replay, I think. Maybe this is, if this is a Salad gameplay, you guys are going to hella enjoy it. But I think there was a Dark Magician replay somewhere, so it might be this one, I'm not sure. Alright. Oh, it's the Salad replay. Okay, so this one was absolutely a banger. So he's going to do his normal Salad stuff that you've all seen before. Grab his circle. Circle, searching Jaguar. Signet Mining, discard it, searching for the Gazelle. And then summon out the Gazelle if he chooses to. Sending his trap to the graveyard, Link summoning, going into his Sanctuary. Link summoning into his Link 2, Jaguar summoning to the zone it points to. Adding his trap card, or adding the Gazelle, sorry. Then he's going to Link summon again. Getting a hold of his trap card. And from there, he sets 2 back row and passes the turn. So I'm going to activate my skill, putting it in a different, this time putting it in the center column, so I have not only this column to use, but I have this column to use as well. I'm trying to leave this one open for when I want to summon out my monster removal guy. Also, I'm trying to bait out some back row effects here, especially the monster negate, or the omni negate. Use Nightfall, he negates it. Now this leaves me with the Mekk-Knight Blue Sky. Unfortunately, he didn't put the back row in this column that I could have, or didn't have the back row the other way around, or I would have gotten myself 3 different searches here. Only 2 this time. He adds a card back to hand as well, we don't care about that. Searching for my Moon and my Eclipse. Alright, summoning out my 2 dudes so I can link summon into my Morning Star. Morning Star discard, searching for memory. Eclipse moving itself, this is so I can use my memory to then get rid of his last back row, putting Yellow Star out. Banishing a card, popping his MST. Still leaving this column open to summon out my Moon. Moon, popping his monster, he uses Bailings, I use it again, popping it again, and from there, he was just hella dead. I was going to remove every single monster he's had and then just lethal him instantly. So that's a very good example of just how good this deck is going second, and how good this deck is going first. It's insane going first, and then you see those replays and you're like, hey, this deck is really good going second as well. And especially against like a deck like Salad, where most deck lists kind of just fall flat really quick, this one has a really good chance against it. I feel like the biggest weaknesses of this deck are if it loses its kind of Omni-Negate style, because if it doesn't, on turn 1, if your opponent has an MST and they hit your back row, obviously you're pretty screwed from there. There's not really, your deck doesn't set up any more negates than that. To be fair, it does set up quite a decent board though, you do get quite a lot of advantage, so. Alright, so this is showing what happens if you open just your normal monster and not a rescue rabbit, which happens basically the other half of the time. So normally you just normal summon out Avram, link summon into your dragon, and because we've put the middle-aged mechs right below the link column, we can still then just summon a Mekk-Knight and link summon instead. So it's a slightly worse play as it does result in you having 1 less card in your hand, but as long as you drew another Mekk-Knight along with your Avram, you're still good to play the game. Alright. Morning Star discard, searching for your memory. Set 2 and passing. He tries to summon Skull, we're just going to summon out my secrets right in front of it, negating it. If he summoned another monster, we could then use World Legacy's memory, negate that one as well. But he didn't, so we're just adding this card to hand, then add another card during our turn. Popping his Takeover. Bringing out a Kingdom. Summon our Blue Sky, searching for our Nightfall. Nightfall's effects going off. Adding for our Eclipse. Summon the Eclipse. Exceed summon into our Cipher Dragon. Our opponent then activates his Awakening in response, summoning to this column. Unfortunately for him, we have a memory in response to then negate this card's effect, so he doesn't get his... I think this card sends a card to graveyard or something, to then activate the field spell, I think. Either way, it gets negated. This does mean though that we can't use our Galaxy Eye summons anymore since we've activated our memories effect, so we're stuck with what we've got. But from here, we have lethal anyway, since Moon can just remove this monster. I forgot that card had the, was actually a combo with the field spell, so I nearly threw the game there, but that's fine. Alright guys, that's going to do it for today's replays. Hope you guys enjoyed them. Remember if you did, leave a like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. I have a bunch of new box videos planned over the upcoming days, so if you're interested in seeing anything in the new box, remember to hit that like button down below and subscribe to the channel. Sorry, my voice is completely fucked. I went to a wedding a couple of days ago. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Hope to see you in the next one. Laters.
Hey, big brother, can I watch SpongeBob? Shut up, Mokuba. I'm busy flagging YouTube videos to compensate for the fact that I have an extremely small penis. Oh.